There's an adventure inside all of us. Some of us live for that adventure. Others let it take them someplace new. Your adventure begins here at Wind River Resort and Casino. Your adventure begins here at Wind River Resort and Casino.
Happy Tuesday morning to you. Looking at a live shot from our Shasta Lake Skycam here, looking at the Jones Valley Resort. Got a few clouds out there this morning. We're going to be looking at more clouds throughout the day today, but still a lot of sunshine, turning out to be a gorgeous sunrise. I want to thank Elwood Ranch for sponsoring the Jones Valley Resort camera. Looking at our visibility, we are seeing that fog along the coast as we typically do, and there may even be some drizzle out there for some of the areas where we have some of that fog, but you can see, yeah, pretty low visibility out at Crescent City Harbor District. Let's get a look at Krueger's QuickCast here for your Tuesday, August 18th. Out the door this morning, yeah, the fog, the drizzle along the coast. Still some clouds for some of us in the higher elevations and for the rest of Northern California, but still plenty of sunshine to start off the day and fairly mild temperatures. So where are the clouds coming from? Well, the fog, of course, is the marine layer, but we still have a stream of some of that subtropical moisture kind of rotating around that area of low pressure. It's not bringing us any rainfall, and it's not bringing us a ton of moisture either, just enough for us to see some of the clouds that we have seen. If you got a swamp cooler to keep you cooler, it's going to have a harder time today, especially as temperatures do start to increase. You know, despite the low relative humidity, when the temperature starts to get above 100 degrees, the swamp cooler has a harder time keeping up. So I think you'll be looking at that cooler output around 77, so you'll be lucky if you can get that house temperature inside with your swamp cooler, upper 70s, low 80s. But for your daytime highs outside of the house, yeah, we're talking mid to upper 90s, even a little over 100 degrees for the north end of the valley, 102 for Redding, but Chico, more like 98, 90s for most of the mountains, and 60s for the coast. Tonight, fairly on the mild side, mid to upper 60s for the valley. 40s and 50s for the higher elevations, and probably somewhere in the low to mid 50s for the coast. So temperatures staying fairly warm through Thursday, but I do expect a dip in our temperatures by Friday and through the weekend. And the thing is, this will be the trend not only for the valley, but for the rest of Northern California as well. The mountains, places like Mount Shasta, low to mid 80s by the weekend, mid to upper 80s for Alturas, and upper 80s to low 90s for places like Susanville. Now let's take a look at the latest on the fires, and still some of the fires. The main one that we are still watching, two main fires really that we're watching, the MP18 fire and the bug fire down to the south and east. So let's take a look, starting off with the MP18 fire. Now there still is an evacuation order for the areas in red. That means go now. You need to be gone. That's been the case over the last few days. Yellow is the evacuation warning, meaning get ready to go. There is a community meeting this evening at 6 p.m. at the Hoopa Tribal Office Council Chambers. The address there is 11860 Highway 96 at Hoopa. All right, so that's where it is. It's in the community of Hoopa to learn more about the MP18 fire, how it's impacting you. If you have any questions, of course, they'll be there to answer your questions. Still fairly large fire, just under 7,000 acres at 19 to 20% containment. So let's take a look at the overall where we've seen most of the fire activity. The red is where we've seen the most recent. A lot of that was overnight. In fact, let's take a look at a satellite image from last night and early this morning. And you can see, if you look closely, just a little bit of a flare-up, and it doesn't even show much there either. It did a little bit earlier. It doesn't seem to show it now. It's because it was very brief. There, I mean, very brief. Look right where my cursor is. Right. Oh boy, it's hard to see. So there really hasn't been a lot of, that's good, right? That's a really good sign. On top of that, there has been a little bit more in the way of cloud cover, so the satellite having a hard time picking that up. So again, you can see it's on the southeast side of the fire where we've seen most of the activity. So there you can see where that was. And most of that activity is kind of filling in that gap that you see there on that mountain ridge there to the south side of the fire there. That'll most likely be filling in here over the next couple of days, and we'll probably see that fire perimeter kind of filling in that spot. But it hasn't moved any closer to the south end of the fire, to Hoopa, for example, so about 2.9 miles from the south end of the fire. Taking a look at the bug fire at over 93,000 acres, but good news is up to 80%, 87% containment, that is. We're not really seeing a lot of smoke coming out of the MP18 fire, but there still are some small plumes of smoke that will impact northern Trinity County and around the Hoopa region as well, as we continue to see those winds coming in from the west, moving eastward, pushing that smoke eastward. Now, humidity levels, as I mentioned, they're still going to be fairly low, although we are seeing some of that subtropical moisture move in. That'll keep it a little bit more in the way of humid than we're used to for this time of the year. However, that being said, it's still going to be in the moderate to high fire weather risk, and I am expecting the winds to most likely pick up a little bit by the time we get to the end of the week and possibly even into the weekend. But nothing unusual when we look at the fire weather risk and even the humidity levels. That's a look at Krueger's Quickcast. That's a look at the latest on the fires. Now let's get into the rest of the forecast here. But let's start with taking a look at some of the cameras around the region. This is our exclusive camera here at Weather NorCal, our Divine Sky Cam, overlooking the Sacramento River, and off in the distance you can see Mount Shasta. But there are some of the clouds that we are seeing this morning, and you can see that from our Jones Valley Resort camera coming out over Shasta Lake, sponsored by Elwood Ranch. Another camera sponsored by Elwood Ranch is the Lake Shastina Golf Resort, and you can see just a few clouds out there this morning as well, turning out to be a gorgeous sunrise in some areas. Still seeing most of the smoke out towards southern Oregon, but some of it trying to work its way into parts of northern Siskiyou County. There's a look at Lassen Park, and we're also seeing some of those high and mid-level clouds out there this morning, as well as areas around Butte County in the Lake Oroville area. Let's take you out to Highway 99 at Neal Road. Looks like that's an old image and it's not updating, but we'll take you out to Crescent City Harbor District, where we do have the overcast skies, some of the fog, and there is going to be some drizzle for some of you along the coast as well. All right, so let's take a look at Crescent City Harbor District, Bald Hill West. And we are looking at, looks like a little bit of smoke out there, but also some of that marine layer coming on in as well. And this is looking out at Fort Jones, in particular Scott Valley. You see some of the smoke looking off in the distance. Now this is looking southward down toward the MP18 fire, so that would be expected that we would see some of that smoke. Coffee with Krueger would not be possible without our sponsor, Wind River Resort and Casino. And here's a word from Wind River.
Ready to laugh until it hurts. The legendary Gary Owen is bringing his unfiltered, unscripted, and wildly hilarious No Hard Feelings tour to the Wind River Event Center Sunday, August 30th. Voted one of the most in-demand touring comedians in the country. This event is sure to make you laugh from the start. Tickets start at just $60 plus fees. For all the details or to snag your tickets, call 1-800-280-YOU-WIN. Your adventure begins here at Wind River Resort and Casino.
Once again, I want to thank Wind River Resort and Casino for their support of Coffee with Krueger. And just a side note, they have been the primary sponsor of Coffee with Krueger since day one. And to this day, they still are. So once again, I want to thank them for their years of support. Tuesday, August 18th, looking at our deeper dive forecast. Let's get you right into it. Slightly warmer over the next few days. We're talking about 100 degrees or slightly higher for Redding. Southward into Chico, more like the upper 90s. Now, valley highs, as mentioned, will be around 100 degrees, give or take, depending on where you are. Slightly cooler going into the weekend, but I do expect below average highs this weekend through all of next week. So we have this area of low pressure spinning. This is subtropical moisture that's getting caught up in that upper level flow. It's not really increasing our relative humidity, unfortunately, but as a result, we're not expecting any rain or even thunderstorms with this moisture moving in. The main impact, just a few clouds, and we're talking mainly some high and a few mid-level clouds out there, but for the most part, a lot of sunshine. And we'll continue to see that area of low pressure kind of have an impact on us, eventually keeping our temperatures down a little bit going into the weekend. But looking at the long range, didn't see a drop of rain in the forecast at least through the middle of next week, if not longer. So you can see the mild air moving to the north and east. This is what's going to help to keep this heat over the desert southwest from building over us. As a result, our temperatures stay below normal. Another pocket of some cooler air coming in from the north. Even though it's not going to dive over us, it's going to ride to the north once again, hindering this heat from moving on in. So temperatures not really increasing by a whole lot. Again, we talk about how it was a hot start to the month of August, between 104 and 109 for the first 10 days, eventually dropping near average and even below average by the end of last week. And we're still near average here starting off the week, although we'll probably be around normal by the time we get into today, as temperatures are expected to be a tad warmer. Lake levels are still fairly healthy, although they do look lower, but that's normal, especially as we get toward the end of summer. We start, of course, we're using the water through the summer season, but we're still, I mean, you look at these percentages of a historical average, they're looking pretty good. So we can't complain about that. Wave heights, they're not going to be changing a whole lot. They may increase a little bit here going into your Wednesday, but overall, I'm not expecting it to be a major problem here. There is going to be that patchy morning fog, though, if you're going to be out on a small or even a big boat. But taking a look at your neighborhood forecast sponsored by Dignity Health and Grange Co-op. Yeah, you got those temperatures in the 90s for the most part in Trinity County. Now, what we're noticing for some of the higher elevations in inland, we see a dip, then another slight increase, and then another dip going into early next week. But for the coast, generally in the low 60s, partly to mostly cloudy skies, some days more clearing than others. That marine layer really is staying fairly persistent along the coast, especially in the overnight and early morning hours. Still some of the smoke for the inland areas, especially northern Humboldt and into northern portions of Trinity County as well. Mount Shasta and Siskiyou County in general, still fairly warm today, tomorrow, mid to upper 80s Thursday, Friday, low to mid 80s by the weekend and into next week. Modoc County, you're talking temperatures around 90 for your daytime high today. Temperatures dropping by the weekend. Eastern Mountains also seeing those temperatures dropping. We're looking at low 90s by Friday, Saturday, keeping it that way for Sunday, Monday of next week. And for the valley to the south, you're looking at temperatures in the mid to upper 90s for your daytime highs. Chico, not quite 100, but you're close today and tomorrow. But temperatures dropping down in the low 90s by the weekend and early next week. 102 for Redding, though. 102 in Palo Cedro, 100 in Red Bluff, and looks like Cottonwood about 101 degrees. So nothing unusual, nothing we can't really handle this time of the year, and we're keeping that way through Thursday. But then temperatures dropping down on average in the mid-90s for places like Redding for Friday through the weekend and even going into early next week. So really overall, this is a 7-day forecast that I think many of us can handle. It's nothing too terribly hot. And really, for the most part, yes, we started the first 10 to 11 days of 100 degrees plus for the month of August. We got up to 109 eventually in August as well this month. But now we're kind of getting back to more seasonal temperatures, that is, where temperatures are going to be hovering in the mid to upper 90s for the most part, although today, tomorrow, and even into Thursday, about 100 degrees or slightly higher for places like Redding. Well, let's take another quick look at the calendar and see what national holidays we have here for today, just for fun. Taking a look at National Fajita Day. Of course, we have Taco Tuesday. Today is Tuesday, so maybe Fajita Tuesday. National Ice Cream Pie Day. That's always fun. Who doesn't like ice cream and pie and put in one slice there? There you can see National Pinot Noir Day. So if you're a wine enthusiast, maybe an excuse to enjoy some Pinot. National Mail Order Catalog Day. Remember that? Mail order catalog, not much of that going on these days. So there you go. There's some of your national holidays that we have out there. Well, we're going to leave you with some cameras here from our Redding Divine Sky Cam. As mentioned, it's going to be a hot day. Stay hydrated. Take breaks if you work outside, if you can, in the air conditioning as well. But otherwise, just stay safe out there and try to prevent any new fire starts. Even though the winds aren't that strong, it's still hot. It's still dry, and sometimes those fires can still spread pretty rapidly despite the fact that it's not that windy. So yeah, we're that time of the year. Don't let your guard down. Do what you can to prevent any of those fires from starting. I hope you all have a great Tuesday, and we will see you bright and early right here on Weather NorCal on Coffee with Krueger. Have a great day.